Hey guys, welcome to Burgundy Blue Commentary. Today I want to talk about the HBO documentary that was created by Mariska Hartigay. It's called MOM JAYNE. And Mariska Hartigay is Jane Mansfield's fourth daughter. And this film was very, very touching. It features the family of Jane Mansfield, family of Mickey Hartigay, and more. So you guys, let's get back to Marishka. Marishka's mother passed away tragically when Mariska Hartigay was only 3 years old. So her memory of her mother is very limited. So she had to depend on what Hollywood told her, strangers told her, family told her, but she never really had a memory, let alone a positive memory of her mother. She goes through how she struggled with her mother being a sex symbol and a bombshell, and she just didn't agree with it. This documentary takes a turn. A little bit about Marishka. You guys remember her from Law and Order SVU. She's been there over 25 seasons, has her star on a Hollywood Walk of Fame, and she's also an award-winning actress. So, much like her mother, Jane Mansfield, who was a bombshell in the 50s. You could say she sort of was Marilyn Monroe twin, I guess you would say. But she posed for Playboy. She definitely played the dumb blonde roles. And her measurements was a big issue for her. But that's what made her so famous, her measurements, her curves. So, you guys, Jane Mansfield actually had her first child at the age of 17, and she was married to Paul Mansfield. And about 2 years after they had their daughter named, and you guys, let me tell you, Paul was 20 years old and Jane was like 17, and it was rumors and things behind that. But they got married. And Jane decided she wanted to go to Hollywood and pursue her acting career. And that's what they did. They moved to Hollywood. Well, the marriage did not work out at all. And Jane ended up going to a Mae West show. And she was in the audience and she sees this magnificent bodybuilding guy up there with Mae West. And that ended up being Mickey Hartigay. They started just hanging together, doing shows together. He also was a star in his own right. He was from Hungary, and he came to America with only $7 in his pocket, and he made his way into showbiz, even into the circus as well. So they fell in love. They got married, and he and Jane had 2 sons to start, and one was Mickey Jr. and the other was Zoltan. And they were so in love. They had a house in Beverly Hills. The house has been since tore down, but people would come all over just to see the home, and they were interviewed by magazines and reporters. And so at this point, they also have her first daughter, Jane Marie. They had her there, and then they have 2 sons. So things are going great for Jane Mansfield's career. She's traveling all over. She's in movies. She's doing her thing. But all of a sudden, the marriage deteriorated. And it was really a sad moment because Mickey still was in love with Jane, and she just couldn't take it anymore. So she just left. I do not understand why she left, because it seemed like Mickey still was, even we get to see Marishka's stepmom, and she said that even when she married Mickey, he was not over Jane, okay? And they got married just a little under a year after Jane's death, okay? So, let's talk about this relationship. And by relationship, I mean Raymond Rusty Straight, who will be 100 years old this year. He was Jane Mansfield's press secretary, and Marishka got to interview him on her mom. But I am so proud of Marishka because Rusty is messy.
And the reporter said, well, how's little Mariska? Jane says, her name is Maria. I'll spell it for you. M-A-R-I-A.
So you guys, Mickey told Marishka as she was growing up, hey, do not read any books, papers, all that stuff. You guys remember the Inquirer and stuff? Don't read that stuff about your mom. And she really listened to her dad, and she never read those books. You guys, Rusty was the one writing the books mostly after Jane Mansfield passed away. He was the one leaking the tea. So we're going to get to that part. But Rusty, you get an honorable mention for being messy, and we'll be back to you. So back to Jane. So Jane is pregnant for the fourth time. And at this time, she's divorcing Mickey Hartigay. So they get back together. They, stop the divorce, get back together, and they have little Mariska. So now Mickey is thinking it's gonna work, and it didn't. So she ends up dating editing Berg here. I'm sorry guys. It was Matt Simber, and when she ended up marrying this director, and she had a baby named Tony. That's Marishka's little brother. Pregnant again. Okay, and she has another son. I think she has a boy, right? That doesn't work out. So she gets with her divorce attorney, Sam, and that's when they said the end of Jane Mansfield started, because Sam and her would fight all the time. And yes, Messy Boots, he put that in the book, and I'm talking about Rusty. It was so unfortunate. They were fighting, so they go down to Louisiana, and they were like, she stops at a truck stop, and a gas station, and she uses the payphone. She calls her ex Mickey, and she says, I can't take it anymore. I have to break up with Sam. And at the time, she has the children in the car. So she's like, look, we have an hour and a half drive to go before we make it to this destination, and I'll call you when I get there. And it was like her and Mickey were really close still. So he said, no problem. So she said, I'm gonna put the kids in the back seat, and I'm gonna get up front with the driver and Sam. So she did that. She put all the kids in the back seat, and you guys, they get in a horrible automobile accident. So the car, I'll insert pictures here. So if you're sensitive, just letting you know, this is an accident. And the kids are the only ones that survive the accident. So Jane, the driver, and her boyfriend died instantly. So thank God she put the kids in the back seat. So everyone's trying to go through the wreckage and get the survivors out. And one of Mariska's brothers, I think it was Mickey, one of Mariska's brothers wake up, and he says, hey, where's Maria? And they're at the hospital, and they said, who is Maria? Now, Maria is Mariska, like we were discussing. And they go back to the wreckage, and she's only 3, and she's so tiny. She was under the passenger seat, lodged under the passenger seat. If the baby wouldn't have woke up and said, hey, my sister's there, or where's Maria, she may not be with us to this day. So thanks for the brothers for doing that. And that was a very, 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 very touching moment, because Mariska doesn't this is basically like a letter to her mom, but it's also a documentation of things that she would not recall because she was only 3. So she had a head injury, and she survived, and they all went to live with Mickey. Now, this is when it gets kind of weird. So as Mariska is growing up, Remember, I told you Mickey is from Hungary, so he goes to Europe every summer. They go to Europe. Well, the whole family would go. The kids would go. So remember, he had two. I'm trying to count the kids. So Jane was not Mickey's biological daughter. Okay, so we're talking about Jane Mansfield. Now at this time she's passed on. So let's go with me here. Jane was the oldest. Remember, that was Paul Mansfield's daughter. So she went to the Mansfield family. Then Mickey had two boys and Mariska, right? So that's three. Yeah, two boys and Mariska. So biological, right? And then Jane also had one more son, the youngest. And he went with his dad. So the family was split. The siblings were split. So the siblings are split. They would send Mariska to her grandmother's house, and she'd be like, "Why am I not going to Europe with the rest of them?" And the grandmother would always say, "Well, I'm all you got." And she didn't understand what that meant. So somebody started a Jane Mansfield fan club, right? And they wrote Mariska. And so they're like, "Hey, we want to invite you to this party that we do every year honoring your mom." So she went. So the guy said, "Hey, how's Nelson?" And the fan club president tells Mariska, "How's Nelson?" And she said, "Who is Nelson?" And so he looks like a ghost, right? Because he's like, "Oh my gosh, what did I do?" So he said, "Do you want to see a picture of Nelson?" And she says, "Okay." And she looks at the picture, and it's basically her in a male form. Like, Mariska looks so much like this man, Nelson Sardelli. He ends up being like this Italian, I think he's an Italian singer, right? So he had a love affair with Jane Mansfield. Remember when she came back home pregnant, y'all? And Mickey just rolled with it. Mickey just rolled with it. And I said, "Oh my goodness." So this whole time, this family kept a secret that Mickey was not the father of Mariska. So Mariska confronted her dad, and he's like, "I am your father." Like, we're talking about Mickey here. And I don't want to hear nothing else about it. So she waited till after her father passed, and then she went to seek out Nelson. So she sought out Nelson, and Nelson's in this documentary too. And he said he never, of course, he knew she existed, but how could he step on Mickey's toes? And he did reach out to Mickey after the accident, and basically Mickey was like, "This is my daughter, period." And everybody knew but Mariska. And I'm telling you, y'all, she looks so much like her dad, her biological dad. So she has these two sisters as well that look just like her. And so she got to know that other side of the family. It's crazy how people could keep secrets like this. Isn't that crazy? So she was heartbroken to know that. And and Mickey was her father and is her father, but you know what I'm trying to say. It family secrets, man. So Rusty wrote that in the book. That's why I told y'all we'll get back to Rusty. Rusty outed her. If she would have read that book, she would have known that Mickey, like as a teenager, that Mickey was not her father. And that could have just hurt her, so much. So, we found out, we get all the details. Jane Mansfield was something else, a mess. So, she left this world with a whole secret. You know what I mean? A secret was buried with her. And it was just really sad. So the family, they go to this storage unit that they kept all of Jane Mansfield's things in. And I think that is wonderful. They went there, the siblings went and had a time to look through everything. Jane Mansfield received the Emmy, I believe, and Mariska put it right next to her mom's and hers, and she started to feel a little more complete about her background, where she came from, and her mother Jane. I think you should watch this documentary. It was really, really good. Talks about families, trauma, bonds, love, relationships, success, failures. It was a really good good documentary for her first. I think that was her first documentary she ever made. All right, you guys. Take care of yourself and each other. If you watch this documentary, let me know what you thought, and I'll be back later. Bye.